Jasper, we met in 2024 in March this year actually, and we stumbled. Me and Ellie were actually on holiday in Torrevieja in Spain, and we literally it was actually mad how we actually met. It was a bit very coincidental. Obviously, I know you know that
No coincidence.
coincidences. There's no coincidences,
Yeah.
but I think it's quite mad how that day, it was because my uncle and auntie were going to pick us up like an extra 15 minutes later. So we thought, what are we going to do with our time? We thought we'd just go on a walk. And that led us to going on a walk. And we ended up stumbling across your outdoor gym that you were running. And obviously, Michelle,
My
your
wife,
amazing
yeah.
partner,
Yeah.
well, yeah, amazing wife. She stopped us with her high energy as always, and we were very intrigued by what you guys were doing. And obviously, then we ended up coming down to the gym the day after. Loved what you were doing. The energy there was just amazing. So I guess just curious to find out a bit more about like where this all began. Like rewind back to when you were younger back in Sweden. Like what led you to moving out to Torrevieja in Spain to start
Hmm.
a free outdoor gym.
Oh wow, Jesus! Yeah, the story. It's from when I was young. I always felt I was a little bit different than people. I guess I didn't really understand violence, bullying. This being mean to people, which children usually are. Children are mean. It's just in our nature, so to speak, like to be kind of into the wrong things. We're born sinners, basically, and there was a lot
Yeah,
of things that I couldn't really like figure out. So that was basically early on in my childhood. I didn't really understand other children, other people. Grew up to become a plumber, worked in construction, had my own company. Before that, I kind of got into the wrong crowd, became a drug dealer, dealt with a lot of criminality for a lot of years. Got out lucky. There is usually two ways people end up either dead or in jail. I was almost beat to death 2009 when I was like 19 years old. 10, 15 people with baseball bats and almost killed me. 24 skull fractures, my elbow in 18 pieces. And you would think that would be an awakening, which it wasn't, unfortunately. So that kept down on the same route for a while and just had, these coincidences, as we call them, that kind of made me change my mind, move away. So I left Stockholm, the biggest city or the main city in our capital in Sweden, and moved to Malmö, the third biggest city down in by Copenhagen, south of Sweden. And just had my construction company working out of there, and then as a kind of result of working in construction and not taking care of myself, being stupid, my back got destroyed, so I had to have the surgery. And at that time, I was running a podcast with my wife. We were helping young lost souls, you could say. Well, young people and old people, actually, but mostly young people answering questions that they could send in anonymously through our website. And Michelle was a teacher at the time in a school in Malmö where there's a lot of immigrants. So there was a lot of taboo for these kids or young people to ask questions within their family or even to a counselor in school, about sex, about masturbating. That could be anything, basically, but there's a lot of taboo concerning some of these topics in certain, cultures. So we kind of became a safe zone for that. And just when we launched this at our fifth or sixth episode, I had a robbery, a home invasion when I was at home. Two guys came, one with a gun, one with a hammer. And my wife was at work, and I was basically put on my knees in my kitchen with a gun to my head, and asked if I wanted to live or die. And I think that moment changed a lot for me. And then that turned out to or turned into a fight, a brawl, which ended up with one of the robbers dying and the other one in hospital. Me and my friend that was at my house at the moment, we were cooking lunch, was arrested for murder and attempted murder, both of us. And we sat in that jail cell. Now, for me at least, I was sitting in that jail cell thinking, either this is going to be the worst shit that ever happened to me or the best thing. and I am the only one that can control the outcome of this. So I decided then and there that it needs to be a change. And when I came to Spain after this tragedy, a couple of days after this incident, I started to take my health seriously. I was like, I can't be useless anymore. I can't be not able to protect myself or the people I love. So my commitment was 90 days, working out every single day, doing something, just doing something every single day. No excuses, no rain, no hungover, no nothing's gonna hold me back. Nothing's gonna keep me back. And I did. So I did the 90 days, and people started to join me, in this 90-day challenge online. It's 4 or 5 people. But we created, together with these people that were my followers, we created the Coaches Don't Play 90-day challenge. And I think the first round was 80 people, something, in a few places around the world that joined the 90-day challenge. And we decided to move away from where we were based in Ibi, up in the mountains, just in nowhere. There's no people. And we realized that our business is about people, and we need to be where people are. So we moved to Torrevieja, just outside Alicante. And just the first night, actually, in this apartment, we were walking outside. Sana was just taking a walk. You met Sana. For the people listening, Sana is one of the girls working together with us. She's the social media manager, you could say, and the videographer. So she said, I found an outdoor gym just around the corner. We're like, fuck, that's super, that's great. We come there, and it's not much of a gym. It's actually, you've been there, so these rolling wheel things. It's not really a gym. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
the hell is this gym? So we took out like some yoga mats, and we had like a couple of 2 kilos weights, some simple stuff, and people started joining us. Just, can we join you? Can we join you? And then the free gym kind of become what it is today. So that's how the story of how we ended up in Spain, basically, and how the gym came to be. And that's where we met you and all these other amazing people, honestly. Like every person that I have in my life right now, I've met through this gym.
Crazy.
It's a crazy
It's,
story.
yeah, it is a real crazy story. There's a few things that you mentioned that I didn't even know about. So yeah, obviously, you've built the 90-day challenge. You've had lots of traction. You've been able to change a lot of people's lives. You've got people into fitness. You've also changed a lot of people's mindset. But obviously, you mentioned that you kind of started with this, I guess, to start with for yourself,
Hmm.
because you wanted to sort yourself out. You wanted to get yourself in the right mindset. You wanted to start doing things that you said you were going to do. So I guess for you, like, what has been like the biggest mindset shift that you've had from completing 90 days of making sure that you make sure you do fitness every single day?
Well, I'll give you some credit here, because one of the biggest mindset changes that I've had is because of you, honestly. So I'll give you that. I'll give you credit for that. And I think that I learned a lot from you concerning how to be in a constant state of gratefulness. So that would be the biggest thing. For me personally, it was just proving to myself that I could fucking finish something.
Mm.
And like I said to you, like most people, they never do 90 days for themselves. They never do nothing for themselves. And 10 days, 15 days, 25 days, 40 days, it doesn't count. I'm sorry to whoever's watching, it doesn't count. Like you need 90 days to make significant change. Actually, you need about 78 days or something, according to the data and what happens, like really on a physiological space, and what happens when you start changing and doing these kind of routines that is becoming a daily habit for you, when it becomes habits. And it takes a while, and you need to do that for yourself, to prove to yourself. I believe that you can't even be fulfilled until you tried yourself. So the biggest thing was to prove to myself that I could fucking do something, and stick to it, not give up, not have any excuses, no, nothing. Like we talked about this before. Remember, you like how you've been doing this for so many days, every day. I'm like, I just decided not never give up.
Mm.
I'm just gonna keep my word, especially to myself. And being a criminal and a drug dealer involves a lot of lying, and everything turns into habits. Like everything
Yeah.
turns into habits, and you start lying to yourself. And sure, there was a lot of great lessons in this. You and me talked about this, that a lot of great entrepreneurs started out being drug dealers and being criminals. but the lessons that you need to take from that are like you turn the negatives into the positives, basically. So that's basically what's been happening, and just gathering all this information the older you get, and realizing as you go through these mistakes, like, damn, I should have handled that differently. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten beat the fuck up if I wasn't doing this or being in that situation, or but now that I think about it, I should have asked him about this. Why are you texting, or who are you texting? Like, blah 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 blah. And not being so trusting, hanging around with people who are in gangs, whatever type of gangs you might be fantasizing or thinking about, they're all after the same thing, which is money. And these people are not your brothers. They are not, like, when it comes down to it, like, you are by yourself. And when you realize that you're by yourself in life, and that you are to blame for everything going on,
Mm.
everything. And you and me have to have had the discussion in person also. And I think we helped each other a lot understanding these things. And I think that I got great value from you concerning this mindset thing. And even though with your, like, you have to say, with your age, your young age, that you're so far ahead of people in your own age, like you're miles away from people. And I usually feel that it might come across a little douchey, but like, there's not a lot of people that can teach me stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come across like, because I'm not arrogant, and I believe I'm humble, so, but I really learned a lot from you when it comes to mindset. So I would
I'm
have to
grateful for that.
thank
No.
you in a way of being my mindset coach, I would say.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm very grateful. And look, vice versa. I learned a lot. Like me and Ellie both learned loads from you and Michelle, having that I know it's like you said, it's not all about age. You can learn. It's like me now. I'm seeing on social media now, like 14-year-old entrepreneurs making
damn right,
moves, and
yeah.
I'm like, whoa, like, and I think it's really important, whatever age you're at, to be humble enough and to be open enough to learn from people older than you,
Mm-hmm.
but also to learn from people younger than you, because every single person's gone through a different life, gone through different experiences, have had different have been around different people, have
Mm-hmm.
had different mentors. So we can all learn from each other in different ways, but the only way that you're going to learn from different people is if you're actually open to it. And I think myself being guilty, there's been times like even Ellie, she's given me some fantastic feedback or fantastic advice, and I've instantly shut it down.
Yeah,
And I'm like, but then a few days later, I'll then turn around to her and then I'll end up saying about that. And she'll be like, I told you.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I think sometimes it's that instant reaction, that like defense. And it's like, no, 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 be open.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy said it to me and Ellie on the plane before. And he was a relationship coach and he was in his 70s, still traveling around. And he said that you need to be open to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real big lesson I've had, and I think obviously you've gone on your journey to learning that, because God, life will be a lot harder life will be a lot harder if you have to work out everything yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas we're in an opportunity now with social media and with networking with people, and with all like different ways of investing in mentors, that we can have guidance and perspective from anyone in the world essentially through social media, which I find really powerful. So I guess for you, when it comes to mindset for you, like, what's been your standout quote that you've heard that you live by? Because I think everybody, there's a lot of generic quotes out there, but sometimes one quote just hits you and
The
it's
first one
something
that
that you
comes
end
to
up
my
living
mind
by.
is actually when it's kind of a combination of something that you and me talked, something that you said about mentoring, because that's something that you really hammer down on, how important that is about mentoring. And when you were holding one of your lectures that I listened to, you was talking about how other famous people and sports athletes and the greats have had mentors. So I started to do that, a little bit of Googling. I found, the mentor of Mahatma Gandhi, basically.
Yeah.
And, all these people have had mentors. And it's also something that you cannot become better without a training partner. And it's like playing ping pong by yourself. Like, you can become the world's greatest server, but what happens when somebody hits the ball back? You know, and I think so. For me, I have my quotes, you know, the way of the father, my rules, but the number one thing for me is leave everything better than you found it. Just leave
Mm,
everything better than you. When I walk somewhere and I see like just it's the small things. I'm not changing the world by picking up one can, but I might influence 10 more people to do that, and they might influence 10 more, and this is how the universe works basically. So that would be my quote. But the thing that came to my head was, you can't become better without a training partner. And I see you when we were standing here having this conversation, and you're like, I'm invested this much in mentors. That's how I learn. You're like, fuck, that's right. That's how you learn. Sure, you
yeah,
can make all these mistakes by yourself, but it's like being a kid again, and your parents say you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't hang around with these people, you shouldn't blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I'm gonna do this myself. I'll know best, but you don't know best.
no,
Like you don't know fucking shit. That's why coaches don't play. You know, coaches are outside looking. That's the parents' role, basically. You're
yeah,
standing on the sidelines looking. You can't be participate and be active player in other people's lives, right?
yeah,
They need to make the goal themselves, and this is also a slippery slope down this participation trophy kind of situation going on in the world right now, where everybody's getting a medal, and it destroys us. You know, we're not connected to reality anymore about what's going on, and what we need to do and how we need to improve and become better all the time. And I think it's lost when parents and teachers and people say like, you're good enough as you are.
mm,
No, sorry, we're never good enough. We should
yeah,
always aspire to be more, but that doesn't mean that we're shit, or that we're bad in a way. It just means that we need to work on ourselves every day, like we talk sharpening the spear. And
yeah,
all the time you need to be sharp, you need
definitely.
to be fucking ready. And I learned that a lot from like you said, with this feedback from your girlfriend and stuff like that. I think both you and me had a lot of lessons together in this when we were working together, you know, this female perspective and the intuition and all this. And you know, when it's just you two and just you and her all the time, it becomes a different kind of ball playing. You know, it's a different kind of. You're a man, and you're like a leader, and you're the king of the relationship and king of this, and then you're not like maybe at your top game right now. You get some feedback, and it hurts your ego a little bit. Everybody has an ego.
Yeah,
This ego death is hard to achieve. It's really hard to achieve, and most people, you know, you let's look at yourself as a castle, and you have a drawbridge that you can fall up and down, and you have your walls around your castle, and you surround that with you checking out what's going on in the surroundings, so nobody's coming in or out, like you don't want them to attack you. And then somebody's coming over to trade, right? Somebody's coming with a wagon and some stuff, and they want to trade some spices or food or leather or whatever. And the first thing you do is shoot an arrow at his feet, basically. Right? Who the fuck are you? What are you doing here? Like, I'm just coming here to trade, man. I just want to talk. And like, get the fuck back. You know, it's a sword, and the, once you start leaving this shit, like leave the armor, leave the shield, drop it off and just walk, because this is only a mental game. In real life, in the real world, I understand you won't let people come too close if you feel there's an attack coming, but on a spiritual realm, like, how am I gonna hurt you if you don't let me hurt you?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know.
It's all self-inflicted. It
Mm-hmm.
is like our minds can dictate everything. We can be our It's like what you said about having a mentor. Like we can be our minds can be our worst enemy,
Oh yeah.
but our minds can also be our best asset. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, our minds are everything. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
However you're thinking, whatever your thoughts are, is going to determine the route that you're going on. If you're constantly having bad thoughts, like I don't think you could meet one person in the world that hasn't had a negative or bad thought. I just think that would be if that's one person, that'd be amazing. But that just shows that we're all on the same. Even you see these people on social media living these incredible lives. You don't know what's going on in their head.
Hmm.
You really don't. You see like loads of like multi-millionaires and stuff end up committing suicide, and
I was
it's
just
like,
gonna go down that route with suicide and say that, I
yeah,
don't think there is a person out there. I would talk for men now. So I would talk for men. I don't think there's a man out there who never thought about suicide. I don't think there is a man who ever had that thought. Either he was 5 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old or 14, 15, 16, 18, whatever, that the thought has run through your head. At one,
I've not,
never,
I've
ever, ever had the feeling like, fuck, I want to die.
no,
Never? Well, that's very
not
unusual.
once.
It's very
Yeah,
unusual. Very unusual. I would say
wow.
most people just have. It doesn't mean you act on feelings. Feelings, everybody has feelings all the time. That goes up and down. You could be sad. You could be happy for the next moment. You don't. Everything can switch like this. It's just thoughts. You
Yeah,
walk
yeah.
around with intrusive thoughts all the time. The things do not act on them. How many times you've been in the car thinking, what would happen if I just twist the wheel and just go out in the, on the grass here? For example, I would love to drive the car out and just on the field here or something. Like this is
Yeah,
intrusive
yeah,
thoughts
yeah.
that take over. And what I mean is everybody's having thoughts.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing
Well,
wrong with having thoughts. I fucking want to die. Try to not have them. Just do your best to not be in this state at all. But I mean, it's fine to have certain feelings, but you need to. That this is not reality. Just you suffer more in your imagination than you do in
you
real
do.
life.
You do, and in regard to faults, like I've gone through a low period, and my low period was during lockdown, and it was when it went from living the life, doing seasons in Mallorca. When I finished uni, I went and traveled. I lived in Thailand. I lived in India. I was living a really cool life at 21 years old, and I was meant to go back out to do a fourth summer in Mallorca, and then lockdown hit. And I ended up getting stuck back in England. I was back at my nan's house. I had no money. I didn't have any hope of what to do for the summer. I had no job, and that was my moment of getting depressed. I went from living a crazy life to end up packing boxes at Amazon, and I literally felt like a robot. And I can vividly remember like driving down to Amazon at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was going to a job that I just didn't want to go to, and I was thinking, how have I ended up in this situation? And looking back now, when I was living in that moment, I was very like poor me, woe is me. It was a real low time for myself. However, I am so grateful that that has happened to me. And I think anyone listening to this right now that's going through a hard time, that's struggling, like when you're older, when you get through that adversity, when you get through that challenge, you're actually going to look back and you're likely going to be very grateful that
Yeah.
anything that's happened to you happened, because if it didn't happen, I look back now and I can remember I was just desperate. I was just trying to escape England. I just wanted to get away, and I booked a one-way flight to Bali with one of my best mates, and that flight got cancelled. And I thought, I am stuck. What's going on? And I always say this now, and it's like if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have met my girlfriend Ellie. I wouldn't have started the Freedom Lifestyle podcast. I wouldn't have met Jacob. I wouldn't have started my Freedom Lifestyle business. I wouldn't have met you in Torrevieja. My whole life would have been completely
Different.
different.
Yeah.
So I'm so blessed that I went through that period of being low. And if I was to rewind back to myself then, I would have told myself to stop being a little bitch,
Hmm.
stop thinking the world's out to get me, and understand that everything is happening for you. You can either
Not
let
against
that
you.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, you can either let that be your negative story forever. If a negative situation happens and you never grow through it and you just get stuck in it, and then throughout your whole life, everything just keeps going wrong because you can't get over that one moment, then you're going to be stuck forever.
Hmm.
But if you can get through that negative experience and you get out the other side, and then you'll realize, wow, you've learned so much from going through that, and now it's made me so even more of a like back then, like before I was packing boxes at Amazon, even though I was living a really good life. And I was grateful, and I can vividly think, wow, I used to think to myself, my life's mint, but I didn't have the same level of gratitude as what I do now.
Yeah.
Like my level of gratitude has completely changed since going through a journey of
Because of
personal
the
development.
because of the things that happen. Yeah,
Exactly. Like you know, you were in prison. Like you were like there was a time where you said you were in jail. You've gone through you know,
yeah,
you've gone through a lot of times. If you haven't have had that experience, you I guess ta talk more about that experience
yeah. I mean,
of being inside.
I want to point out two things. First of all, for anybody who's listening into on this, like Callum is using very interesting thing. We were talking about the Amazon work. You were waking up 6 in the morning, going to a job you didn't like, and I want to point out that didn't like that you didn't use the word hate. I go to job because it's easy to use words like that to
Yeah.
something I hated and blah 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 and hate. And there's also theories about alchemy, like transmuting energy and stuff like that, which is some reality to that you can use kind of dark energy. But I would suggest to stay away from that as much as possible. It would be my
Mm.
advice, and that I wanted to give you a heads up for that I caught that for you. And I like that you use that wording instead of hate.
But I would have used to have said hate. So
Yeah,
that's
but you changed.
interesting.
Yeah, but you changed. You've
Yeah,
changed.
yeah.
And I'm trying, like, every time I say, I fucking hate that, I'm like, Callum, I remember, just try to stay away. And sure, you can transform, you can transmute the energy to something good. Just because you say the word hate or think that you hate something, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to change your trajectory of your whole life. But if you keep being in that mindset, it might be judgmental for you. You need
It's
to be aware.
it's the compound effect.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, back to life lessons. I recently did a kind of an ayahuasca trip here on the Lionsgate, 8th of 8th. That will be 4 days ago, 4 nights ago.
Yeah.
And my expectation among concerning I didn't have any expectations. I usually, like, this type of medicine and drugs don't really give me that sensation that it does for other people. And it been the same with medication for my back and stuff like that. We might call myself a Viking, if I may. So maybe I'm a bit stronger than most. Now, jokes aside, I had a sensation that I understood that I've been living in survival mode for a while. And
Mm.
when that survival mode came and started, if it was when I broke my back and everything fell apart, my construction company, my factory that I had, or whatever happened, like the money I lost, all the money, like I don't know where and when, or it was when I had a gun to my head. I'm not sure where, but it ended the day after. And that's also because I got bad news, like financial kind of judgment. What was the word? Detrimental financial, like message, you could say, which kind of changed everything, and that took me down a notch from, like, slow down, like boom, and then I kind of had like this was 5-6 hours after I took that medicine, or 7 hours, and it just hit me, like it really, like, okay, I see what's going on. And big lesson when it comes to people dying and stuff like that. I don't have any certain feelings around that somebody died. I believe in karma. I believe in saying that you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I wish that people didn't play stupid games at all. But the world is what it is, and I know about the soul. I know that there's a soul inside myself. I'm aware of that. Most people believe, and most people don't believe at all. So some people believe, and some people don't believe, and some people fucking know. And I'm know for sure that there's a soul inside me. And I wish that most people could understand that. And once you know that, like, 99% of your worries, the problems around you, everything disappears.
Mm.
Now the only problem left is you.
Yeah.
Now, and then you start like, fuck, everything is on me. Yeah, you create your universe, man. Like, you
Mm.
create everything. So yeah, and then you can get down the route, like, well, I mean, people who are getting attacked out in the night time and blah blah. But you can really, like, push this boundary very far. Like, who forced you to go out this night?
Mm.
Nobody.
Yeah,
So
why are
there,
you out till 3 o'clock in the
so
morning,
there you
4 o'clock in
go.
the morning, putting
Shouldn't,
yourself in that
yeah, should you be able
situation?
to be out 3 in the morning, dressed how you like, and do whatever you want, and say whatever you want? Yeah, but the reality of the situation is no, unfortunately.
You're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, and once you start realizing that, and I put myself a lot of fucking risk, like being shot at and beaten to death almost, car accidents, and just being young and stupid is not an excuse. It's not.
Mm,
It's not an excuse. I'm
no.
young and stupid. Yeah, but I wish that somebody would have picked me up instead of a drug dealer. I wish somebody would have found me when I was 20 years old and saw that I had potential, like everybody does. Every human being has the same potential.
Yeah.
And with that said, we talked about this about a guy with Down syndrome running a pancake restaurant in America, and it
Oh
was
wow.
super successful. It's on the story about Love on the Spectrum. It's a TV show, and
Yeah.
he found his love of his life in like a convention for people with Down syndrome in Las Vegas. So he was like moving from somewhere to Arizona or whatever to be with the love of his life, and he was closing down the pancake house. And the whole city came to say goodbye. Like the whole city came to say goodbye to him when he was closing on the last day. People crying, and it's like, what made this? Why? What's so good about this place? Like every time I come in, I get a hug. He knows my name. You know, he really loves the people coming there, and there's this potential in everybody.
Mm.
Everybody has this in them, and I think that
I,
you
I,
are.
I think
Sorry, yeah.
I was gonna say I think the issue with from what you've just shared, then it sounds like he's a loving person,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where it's kind of gone wrong in humanity, is that yes, you've got to be all about yourself, and I agree with that. You've got to take responsibility, but I also think there's too much competition going
Mm-hmm.
on
But there
in
is
this
no
world.
competition, and I
There's
wish
no
people would listen. There
competition.
is no competition.
The only competition is with yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Simple
Your
as
only
that.
problem is yourself, and this
Yeah,
is like
that's it.
people who are alone. So I had a long relationship, 7 years, and we separated, and I was like, I don't know who I am, what I am. All Christmas, Spotify lists, Netflix, like the half watch show, everything we done together. Who am I now?
Mm.
What am I now? How do I go to that birthday party without that person? And
Yeah.
you know, these small things that people don't really pay attention to. Like you go on Netflix and you're like, oh my god, we watched this TV show together, and you're like episode 3 of 7, and there's all these things, the Spotify list and whatever. It might be so many
It's
things.
energy.
Yeah, it's energy.
Yeah.
And I read this quote: if you feel alone when you're by yourself, you're in bad company. And
Mm.
that motherfucker hit me hard. I was like, damn. So bad company, huh? Like
Mm.
I'm bad for myself. You know, I if I can't be with myself, then who am I supposed to be with? If I can't be with myself, I can't be with anybody.
I think it stems down to what's going on in your mind. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you can't be alone, and I used to struggle being alone, whereas now I actually really enjoy my own alone time.
Mm-hmm.
But even saying that, a lot of my alone time I have, and this is one thing I wanna like that I need to practice more, because I think it's really important for everybody to go to do that, is to have not just alone time where you're listening to music or a podcast or you're on your phone. Like, yes, that's alone time, but it's not real
No,
alone
it's not
time.
alone time at all.
I
It's
think
screen time.
you need alone time with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
no music, no podcasts, so you can actually see what's going on in your mind and what your thoughts are, and to check in with yourself. And I think if you can be, it's so easy now to be distracted. We
Yeah.
live in a world. I actually just downloaded an app myself called Opal. Strongly recommend it actually for you, Jesper. And you can basically put blocks on your social media. So, for instance, you could put like deep work. So between 9 and 12, you can't physically go on Instagram or WhatsApp. And I had like one of my most productive days ever yesterday when I was on that app. And it felt so liberating like not. And it was interesting, me going onto my phone to go onto the app and it wouldn't let me. And I'm like,
Mm.
like, yes, we got to go on that. Like for, I think this is going to be a rabbit hole in itself for online entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Is we make our money on our phone, which is amazing. It gives you that freedom. But then it also is every time I go on my phone, it's like I can't really go on WhatsApp or Instagram anymore without being like bombarded by
Mm.
messages. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's loads going on. And sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather be really intentional when I go on the app that I'm not getting used by it and I'm going on there to build my business
Mm.
rather than getting sucked into all the minutia and all the distractions which we're living in because there is distractions everywhere. You switch on a TV, you go on your phone, it's just distractions everywhere. For people that's an online entrepreneur, it can be quite hard to focus on the things that are actually going to make you money because there's so many distractions
Mm.
everywhere. You go on social media and you see one video telling you to do this strategy, and then you see another video
Yeah.
telling you that strategy's crap.
Mm.
So it's too much. So sometimes you're better off just getting rid of the
Yeah.
distractions because we know the answers. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yes, it's really good to have mentors, and I'm always going to have mentors, but you know a lot of the answers yourself.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do. It's just because we've all got so
You
many
need
thoughts
structure.
going on.
Yeah, the
And it's
structure.
yeah, the structure and the
Mm.
focus.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were gonna
Wouldn't you say they're the
yeah,
same thing though?
structure and focus.
Because
Yeah, I'd say
with
so, but
structure come focus, and with
you
focus you can make structure.
I think they interlink, but you can
Yeah,
have a really good structure and still not be
that's
focused.
true. That's true.
So
That's true.
I think if you've got the combination of both of having structure and focus, I
Mm-hmm.
think you'll be able to be a lethal entrepreneur. And like knowing, I think knowing what to do is critical. It's like in sales, like knowing what to actually do, like knowing
Yeah.
what's going to move you forward, what's going to every task you do, you've got to ask yourself this question: Is this task going to make me money? If this task isn't going to make me money, then is it worth doing or is it worth delegating to someone else? So then you can focus on something that's going to make you money. Because ultimately, the only way your business is going to grow is if you're focusing energy on tasks that are actually going to move your business forward and going to make you
Mm.
money. And I think this is a skill that I'm still working on myself. And I think if you are going to work on one skill as an entrepreneur and it being involved with sales, is getting super, super clear on what are the non-negotiables. Like for instance, for you, your non-negotiable is exercise. Your non-negotiable is a 90-day challenge. My non-negotiable before I even met you was win in the morning.
Yeah.
I literally haven't gone a day without win in the morning for like the last 2 years. Like it is just a non-negotiable.
Could you
I don't
explain
have
what that means? Win in the morning? Well.
win in the morning to me isn't it doesn't have to be a crazy 2 hour morning routine. It simply just, for me, is focusing on myself first thing in the morning, getting myself into a good energy, whether that's going on a morning walk, hitting the gym, practicing gratitude, getting hydrated, having some time to myself, and then finishing with a cold shower. Like it's as simple as that. But to me, like that is a non-negotiable. It's not something that like it's not something that I have to, like what you mentioned, once you do something so much, it becomes part of your life.
Mm.
It's a lifestyle, it's a routine. I don't think about it. And you don't have to wake up at stupid o'clock in the morning to do it. You could wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning and you could still win it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you're doing with the first part of your day. Are you just led in bed, just scrolling on social media? That's going to get you in a reactive state for the day, and you're focusing on other people's
Mm.
lives rather than focusing on your own life. So for me, win in the morning is focusing on yourself first thing in the morning. And if you're someone that has kids, yes, you need to focus on them. But if you can get out 15 minutes before or half an hour before your kids, so you can focus on you first, so then you're going to get yourself into a better energy. So then when you are with your kids, you're going to be showing up better with them. You're going to
Yeah.
be in a better energy with them. And for me, it's just been absolutely life changing.
I have a hard time managing these routines myself with win in the morning. You know, I do a week and I do 15 days and I haven't gotten to finish a 90 day for myself concerning the win in the morning things or affirmations or anything. And I'm trying to find systems for myself that works. And I would like to give some tips, and I would ask you for some tips also. When it comes to this phone thing, first of all, don't charge your phone in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Put it outside and put the alarm outside. Either way, it's going to make you go up out of bed when the alarm rings. That will make it easier for you to get up out of bed, for anybody who's listening. So that would be my number one advice for this mobile thing, and especially in the morning. The first like 30 to 45 minutes, don't use the phone.
Yeah.
Don't use the phone.
100%.
Go and talk to yourself in the mirror and tell the mirror and tell yourself how amazing you are, that you love yourself, and that you're thankful for waking up and all these things. And you write your own mantras. And this is kind of where, if somebody is struggling with this is your main guy right here that can help you win the morning and set up a structure for you that you can achieve your goals. I also think what you said about this, that you can find anything online. For me, I've been online since internet came. I'm that old. For anybody who's watching, I'm 35. So I grew up on like dial-up modem, right? That's where internet started for me. And there was a point where we came to the internet, and whatever you can Google, you have headache, and then all of a sudden cancer. So this started very early, or that you can find anything. Whatever I search for, basically, I can find proof of, whatever you want to call that. And it's the same thing with these videos, like you mentioned. I've been down the same rabbit hole, just watching other people tell me what to do with the content and how, instead of narrowing it down to one thing or two things or three things. It's been 55 things.
Yeah.
And I think we're all guilty of this. Like every
Yeah.
human being out there is guilty of
Shiny object syndrome is what it's called.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of that many, many times. And the thing is, like, majority of free content is amazing. Like for instance, my podcast, the free content's incredible if you go and listen to it. My YouTube also is. My reels are also incredible content, and everybody else's content is also incredible. But the reality of it is, the majority of people's contents is designed to create clients, is to sell you something.
Yeah.
Like that is the majority of why people are doing free content. And yes, one of my main reasons is to make money from it and to build a business, but I do genuinely want to make an impact. However, because of that, and because everybody's intentions are to build a business, I guess you just got to be very, very careful of not getting sucked into everybody's free content, because everybody's free content is going to be different and they're going to be telling you different things. So I think the way I have it, because I've had many different mentors, like I've invested over £50,000 now into mentors, and I can vividly remember my first mentor was Grant Cardone, and he used to always say, just stick with one mentor. And I get it, because he obviously wanted us to stay with him, and I think he's an absolute legend. I think he's amazing. But for me, I've actually had multiple different mentors, and I think I can see his point. I really can see his point, because the more mentors you do get, the more conflicting that there is going to be, because different people have different strategies. But the way I've took it on board, and the reason why I've enjoyed having many different mentors, and I'm going to continue to have many different mentors, I'd say two main reasons. Number one reason is because you instantly upgrade your network. As soon as you pay, people take you seriously.
Yeah.
You start getting their actual mobile number. If you ever in the future, for me, if I ever want to interview someone that I've invested in, I am very confident they will happily
say yes.
They'll say yes. They're gonna, if you've invested in them, they are likely going to take you seriously, and they're likely going to do things to help you out. They're more likely to share your content. They're more likely to pass you on clients. It's like recently, I'm working with Lewis Raymond Taylor at the moment, who built a $25 million company. He has literally passed me clients. Like, I invested in him, and he's literally given me clients.
Yeah, giving it back.
Which is incredible. And
but may I
so
also
I
ask, is that because, I would assume, same with me, when I teach people, my hope is that they would work with me, and in a way that my teachings would be good enough for them to teach it, pass it on. And I think that's what's happening here with you and this Lewis, that he is trusting you with, passing down his knowledge and what you have done with it. Like, you made it your own. And I think that's an important thing, that you have the ability, like we talked about, this alchemy, transmute, that you can hear things and you can take them and you can place them in different boxes inside your head, and then figure out where they go or if they need to go somewhere else. And you can
Yeah.
take whatever pieces that you think is good for you and just put that together and make the whole master plan basically.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, like he definitely does trust me to with clients, but I think more he's passing me on people because I'm an expert when it comes to sales, whereas he's an expert at helping someone become a coach.
That makes sense, yeah.
So this is where it can get really powerful, and this is like rewinding back to what I shared earlier about too many people in this world are just out to be the like it's important to be out to be the best, but be the best version of yourself. Don't worry about other
Yeah,
people. Don't
no
get too
competition.
focused. There's no competition. And with that being said, is this is the powerful thing about getting around the right network is you can start forming a network of people who have different skills. So if in your network you're like, right, Callum's a sales expert, but I've got a marketing expert over there, I've got a mindset expert over
Mm-hmm.
there like yourself, I've got an AI expert, I've got someone who can train someone to be a coach. You've got all these different experts that
Mm-hmm.
are in your network, so you can then pass people on to other
Yeah,
people because
exactly.
you don't need to teach everyone everything. You just need to get really good at like one or two skills, go all in on that, and help people in that area and be a specialist,
Yeah,
be like a doctor. So that's the reason why he's passed on people to me, is because he doesn't want to teach people sales. So he's passed them on to me. But that was number one reason why investing into yourself, investing into different mentors are
yeah,
going to be a
yeah,
benefit to me. But number two is, yes, I have experienced a bit of contradictory, but that's where you've got to come into your own and take responsibility and have that level of awareness to not take everything
exactly.
that someone says.
Nobody's
Not
perfect.
Nobody's perfect. So the way I do it is I've observed all my different mentors, and I've been like, right, I'm gonna take 80% of what you've got, 20%,
Yeah,
nah. I'm gonna take 80% of you, I'm gonna take 80% of you, 80% of you, and the 20% that you don't take, I ask myself this question: how could I improve that? Or how could I make that my own? How could I make that better for me, that sits right with me? Because you may not align with everything someone says, and that's a good thing. And I think that's been one of my biggest lessons from having many different mentors, is just taking the best bits from all of them,
yeah,
but also making sure that you make it your own. So you don't just sound like a carbon copy of someone else.
yeah,
You've got your own stories, you've got your own experiences and your own value that you can offer as well. So anyone that's thinking about investing into mentors, like, I strongly recommend it, because not only are you going to upgrade your network, you're going to get knowledge that you don't know. It's going to be a shortcut to your success. It's
mm,
no get rich quick scheme, but it's definitely going to be a shortcut because you get to learn from all of their mistakes
exactly.
in a short period of time.
Yeah.
But also for me, one of the biggest things has been the psychological side of investing into myself. I've gone on to invest over 50 grand. Like, I could have put that money and got a mortgage, like what most people in their 20s are aiming to do.
Mm-hmm.
I could have easily done that and got a nice mortgage and got comfortable, but instead I backed myself. I continually backed myself. I've had to take loans. I've been minus money to do it. I've had my last, like, I had 9 grand in my account once, and I put 9 grand straight into a mentor and went down to nothing. I've put myself in these situations many times, and the best thing about that is it's made me back myself,
Mm,
because when you put skin in the game,
yeah.
it makes you show up on a whole new level.
I love
You
that
can
word,
watch
by the way.
what, skin in the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
Ah, it's so important. I think you have to have some element of skin in the game. Some element. It doesn't always have to be
Yeah, yeah, you're
financially.
right. It has to be something. It has to be something. And I've realized this with, I've had great result with the 90-day challenge, that's free, with 55% staying on the challenge, which is great numbers. But yeah, it needs to be, I need to set up a paywall. It can just be, 299 pounds, or if for you in pounds, or, 3-4 euros or whatever, to be part of it month by month, but just something so there's skin in the game. It needs to be
Yeah, well,
something.
just thinking for you now, like, maybe you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you do it as a 90-day program where people do put skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when people do put, and you can add stuff to it.
Yeah,
So obviously you're going to need to add more value, of
of
course,
course.
because it's
School
just
community,
posting.
school community,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, like you could definitely I definitely think it's time for you guys to have an investment to do it.
Yeah,
It should be a privilege, but also how can you give more value on the 90-day challenge to make it
yeah,
worthwhile investing in yourself? Because when people if people put money into doing it, they're gonna do it. They're
yeah,
gonna do it.
exactly.
And I think there's only when things are free, I think it can only be free for so long because I think like I mentioned, it's actually a disservice. It's like I find it mad. When I first started 2 years ago in building an online coaching business, my membership was £20 a month, and it was criminal. Like the what I was giving away for £20 a month was criminal. But people were dropping off. I was like, and it was just like, I was like, what's going on?
What are
This
you
is
doing?
20 quid
What
for
am I
this.
doing wrong?
But it's because there was no skin in the game. Like 20 quid, what's 20 quid? Like
It's
£5 a
Netflix.
week. You know, it's a bit more than Netflix, but it's not going to break your bank for most people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to come out monthly, and you're like, you know, it's 20 quid in the end of the world. But then people aren't taking you seriously, and people aren't taking action. And then when people don't take action, they see the 20 quid come out, and even though it's only 20 quid, they're like, why am I paying 20 quid for something I'm not using? I may as well cancel it. So there's a fine line, and I realized this with going into the high ticket space that I'm charging way more and I'm getting way more results.
Mm.
And it's been pretty much as easy to close high ticket as it was low ticket,
Of course,
which
it's
are
even
which are
easier. It's even easier.
to an extent. If you're
Yeah,
speaking to the right
yeah.
people,
That's yeah, of
yeah,
course. But I assume, we come down to a route where we're always talking to the right people, and
that's the goal.
yeah, that's a
That's the
goal. Yeah,
goal.
yeah. And once you can get to that point that you're only attracting the right people, let's say 9 out of 10 is the correct person, it's all up to you. You're
Yeah.
talking to the right person. You should, what they want, what they need, and how good your ears are working. Because most
And
people, they don't realize they have two ears and one mouth.
mm,
A lot of
definitely.
coaches talk a lot of fucking shit, and they keep talking and talking and talking and talking, and like you need to listen a little bit and just deliver the right words instead of amount of words. Just try to
Mm,
keep that space between how much you're speaking and what you're speaking about
yeah.
into as
Powerful.
yeah, as much as possible. Become
It's
powerful. Yeah,
it's just getting people to find the answers themselves by using powerful questions and letting them realize it themselves. Because I used to give a lot of advice, and I think it's good to give advice, especially to people that can like yourself. That's one thing I've learned from you is you're extremely good at taking advice. You're extremely good. You're very, very, very open. A lot of people, including myself, and it's something that I'm definitely getting a lot better at.
yeah, definitely. I will give you a
Can't.
big up on that. But just like you say, but you, like I mentioned before in this talk to anybody who don't remember, that Callum has that easy to you just change immediately. Like you do that kind of just take it. Okay. Okay,
Mm,
but then it comes to a point where we suffer from our own, ego, like you said with your girlfriend, and then there becomes a
yeah.
different kind of that. This is where I'm struggling with this too. My wife give me advice, and I'm like, "What the fuck do you think you are?" Basically, kind of in a way, and you get to a point where you start learning this better and better and better. Though, especially with age, like how can you have? Sure, you can have a lot of experience, young age, but when it comes to relationships, for example, you need to have a few relationships in the background. You need to have time. There's like what I don't know what the data suggests, but 5-10% of high school sweethearts that get married stay together. These numbers used to be very different in the past. So
Mm,
now you need other kind of skills to maintain a relationship because there's so much going on around you. And you need to find these kind of old school values. And with that
uh,
said, the old
old
school
schools.
values is advice is like if you say something to me and you're my friend, I know that it comes from love. And
Mm.
I'm gonna look at it that way until I don't feel that anymore. And even though it might hurt my feelings that you tell me that my hair is like, you need to shave, man. What the fuck is going on? Like, you look like you're walking around doing commercial for McDonald's. You know, I'm like, oh my god, really? Like, it's time. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, look, lift. What are you talking about? They say over here. Yeah, but you know, and you might get defensive, and you might have a hard time about these things, or when someone's like, hey, you need to change your shirt, man. You look like a homeless guy, and we're going on a business meeting. What's going on? You know, just keeping each other in check. And I love people giving me feedback, and especially when they explain. And
Yeah.
what's needed for me is explanation. I need to understand why I'm wrong. I need to understand where I'm doing wrong, because I'm not walking around here doing mistakes on purpose. I promise you. I'm trying to do my best almost all the time, and I'm trying to make that into all the time. But it's still, I'm still okay with a fucking up like 50% of the time, which we're humans, we do. And I didn't gain what I wished from this, maybe because I pronounced it wrong, or I used the wrong wordings, or I was looking at you the wrong way, which made you feel uncomfortable, or I maybe should have not came at you without a shirt, for example. You know, talking to somebody on the beach about their umbrella being in the way or whatever. Like, depending on how you approach every situation, you're gonna get a
Yeah.
different outcome. Like, everything.
I agree. I think delivery is really important. Like, and I think it really is an interesting area when it comes to giving criticism, giving feedback, because sometimes the way it's either your ego is hit and you get defensive,
Yeah,
or the way they've delivered it is just a shit way of
yeah,
delivering
yeah,
it. So then so there's quite a lot of different variables
yeah.
that can cause a conflict. And I think it's really key to, I guess, think before you speak. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's something that I'm working on myself, of hearing something and being like, ah, okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. You are right. And sometimes it might hit you more than others, but I think if it hits you more, if it hits you hard, then it's something you need to work
Oh
on.
yeah.
It's clearly so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get defensive, okay, cool. Actually, the fact that I've got defensive,
Should
yeah,
be
you must
enough.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But you, to
yeah,
get to that point, we need to have another discussion. I think that we should deep down into this subject, honestly, about how to deliver things, and how to kind of deal with, like you said, no. You talked about this no before, how important the no is, and how to handle
yeah,
rejection. And I think that we could have maybe one of these more conversations like this about that topic also.
yeah. I agree. I think we should. On that note, I think we should wrap
Yeah,
this
I
up.
agree.